All right, what's going on, guys? Happy Monday, as happy as it can be on a Monday, and a Cowboys loss Monday, unfortunately. I'm Stevie J, Camber, of course, with me. This is your midday due diligence. First and foremost, part of Pick Six Sports, so be sure that you like and subscribe on YouTube. Just always trying to build it up and get people involved. You know, we love hearing what you guys have to say about the game. We love interacting with you guys too. It's a lot of fun. And so, be sure that you liked and subscribed to the channel and post a comment, ask a question, whatever it may be. We're here for you. So let's get it going. And of course, last night, 26-17. Career record goes is now 5-1, which I think a lot of people would argue is still pretty good. It's still not bad. And so let's jump right into the Eagles game. And Camber, first and foremost, what stood out to you?
That a lot of things stood out. First and foremost, that game doesn't go the same way if we had Dak.
Sure.
That we established a run game, especially in that second half. That was fantastic. Much better. I hope we stay on with that. That they figured out Micah Parsons, or figured out a way to get around Micah Parsons and slow him down. But this isn't a team that is going to haunt my dreams and scare me come Christmas Eve. That they can be beat, and we saw ways that they could.
Yeah, I don't know about scaring so much. I mean, they're obviously a good team. They're obviously, right now in the front seat, in the driver's seat of the NFC East. And they're going to continue being a good team. A couple of things. One, they're the healthiest team in the NFL going into that game. They had a couple of guys go out, of course, one of those being a big-time loss in Lane Johnson. And so that ended up being a big-time kind of changed the game a little bit. And I thought that Michael Parsons was getting pressure even with Lane in the game. The only thing is, the Eagles did a good enough job of getting the ball out of Hurts' hand pretty quickly. I thought they did a really good job, even when they're not running the RPO or the option, whatever case it may be. They were still doing a good job in the short passing game and in the intermediate game. We didn't see them just take some big, deep shots down the field a whole lot. And I thought that was a good way to neutralize them. There were a couple of times, even with Lane in the ball game, that by the time Hurts lets the ball go, it's out of his hands. Boom, Micah is there, gets a little bit of a body on Jalen Hurts. So it's not like he was just stonewalled at the line by him, but I mean, did enough to keep him from getting home. And when you're operating in a short passing game and an RPO, that's really, really what you need to do against a guy like Micah Parsons. Now, on the other end of that, of course, a lot of the talk was beating him in the run pass option game. And we've seen this before. Actually, we saw this years ago whenever the Cowboys and Washington played, and it was early on in RG3's career and later on in DeMarcus Ware's career. And they used the exact same type of formula with, Alfred Morris.
Right.
Alfred Morris was the running back. And so, they used the same type of approach to get past a really great pass rusher. Just beat them with, hey, here's the option. Who are you going to take? What are you going to do? You're going to make a decision. We're going to block you with the football, basically, rather than a body.
Right.
And that's the kind of the way that they went about it. It'll be interesting to see who and how many other teams attempt that, because I don't think you can do that with just anybody. By the way, let's make something clear. This is a UNT shirt. I wasn't even thinking. You know what I mean?
Right.
I rep my mean green all the time. Yeah, as a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and throw this bad boy here like that. Jesus, Steve. But
it's all good.
I know.
We rep UNT around here too.
I know.
My
That's what I'm
kid
saying.
goes. My kid goes there. We rep
I
UNT.
shouldn't have to, wear
Right.
that on my conscience whenever I go. So like, I just want to rep my school that I went to.
Right.
But getting back to this kind of approach that they took to Micah Parsons, I don't want people to feel like, oh no, they've showed something to the league, because Jalen Hurts has a particular type of ability that not everyone in the NFL has, and so I'm really very much not concerned with that happening against like Jared Goff and the Lions by any means.
Right. And they had to double team and chip him. What percentage of the time? It's
As they should.
yeah,
As they should.
yeah. But that formula is not going to work for everyone. And I can guarantee you that Dan Quinn's got his hat on backwards and he's working that stuff out right freaking now.
He's definitely got his hat on backwards. So, I was actually pleased with the way that Parsons played. He played well against the pass. We saw him breaking up more passes, of course, and I was happy with how they even played run defense as a whole, as a team. Now, the Eagles, they were always going to commit. They were always going to commit to the run. It's who they are. They're one of those teams in that particular part of the game. This is our strength, and this is what we're going to do. And no matter how good you are against it, it's the direction we're going to go. Well, Dallas coming into this game, the run defense was the one part that was kind of questionable, and I thought that they sold out and actually did a good job. I think Philly averaged like 3.8 yards per carry, something below average, and especially for them.
Yeah, it was 3.2. 3.2.
Even better.
Yeah.
Even better. So they were phenomenal against the run, but Philly did a good job of staying committed to it. Of course, Jalen Hurts needs that run game in order to be an efficient passer, and that worked out for them. I didn't think he just lit the world on fire. He didn't go out there and destroy Dallas through the air. He didn't really
not at 155 yards.
And didn't destroy him on the ground either. It was more of his presence as a threat in both areas that helped Philly for sure. But by no means did the Eagles come in and just roll over the Dallas Cowboys defense. It was more about the offense putting the Cowboys in bad positions on the defensive side of the ball with all the turnovers.
Right. And I think the time of possession, the defense was on the field. Don't quote me, I might be a little bit wrong, but it was like 10, 11 minutes, 10 minutes more than the offense was. So that doesn't make any of it easier. The offense turning the ball over, putting them, the defense against the wall in bad field position, 4 or 5 times that they took the field. I feel the defense did its job. Were there a couple of little weaknesses here and there? Yes. But for the overall, for as solid as this offense is that they faced, the defense did their job.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. You look at 10 points off of 3 turnovers, and you lost the game by 9. Now, they obviously went for 2 on one play and ended up not getting it, so you could say 10-10. Okay, but that's a tie ball game. We're going into overtime. All you got to do is not turn the ball over. And for Cooper Rush, that's always kind of been the card in the back pocket that could be played by, people who, for whatever reason, think Cooper Rush should continue being the starter is, well, he doesn't turn the football over. He protects the football. And not only did he not do that last night, but in addition to that, he's gotten away with some stuff on dropped interceptions, on penalties, having interceptions called back. And so it was really just a matter of time. And this was the type of opponent that you couldn't do it to. You didn't need clock essentially hit midnight, and Cooper Rush, his ball gown turned back into rags is basically what happened last night. And I think that going forward, hopefully Dak is back for the Lions. He said that that's what the plan is. Now, whether the plan comes to fruition, we'll see as the week goes along.
He
But
may be medically cleared today.
and that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, that's the big step. He, he can keep practicing and everything like that. We need that medical clearance is what we really need.
And of course, they've mentioned time and time again, it's about the grip strength. Grip strength. The thumb is healed by all intents and purposes. He can hold a fork. I mean, it's functional. He can do all the things.
Right.
They're opposable again. But
Right.
it's always been about the grip strength on the ball, and he's been throwing around a little bit, which throwing in practice is a lot different. It's you really have to have a little more time just to be sure, just to be certain, because going out there and being like, here, look, I can throw the football, just holding it there. Okay, but are you going to hold it whenever you take a hit? Are you going to maintain possession of that football? Do you have the strength to hold it when you take a hit? And that's really the biggest question with any injury. I mean, how many injuries do we talk about when it's like, okay, he's back, but we haven't seen him take a hit?
Right. And is there any kind of adaptation that has to be made? Because my understanding is the steel plate and the 7 screws are staying in forever.
Yeah.
And is that, are we learning something different? Is it, I mean, I don't know. I'm not actually a doctor. I don't play one on TV either, but
yeah, I don't have any kind of, I don't
yeah.
know.
He did say that he was at an A and he wants to play when he's at an A+. So let's hope he studies hard and gets that A+ this week.
All right. Give me 1 second. We had a little request, if you will. But I gotta get to, let's see. We'll get there. Here we go.
And going back with that score, when you're talking about the 3 turnovers and everything, we've also got to equate into the fact that we missed a field goal. So that could have even made it a closer game.
What I'm happy about with Brett Maher, what was it, 59 yards, 58, 59 yards. I'm glad I haven't seen anybody say anything about him in that regard. Right. I think both of his missed field goals this year, which he's still sitting at around 90%, but both of his missed field goals have come in that it's the exact same situation. The first miss was really, really far into the half. You're kind of doing it out of obligation, whereas you have otherwise he's been perfect. Outside of those 2 instances, he's been perfect. So he hasn't done anything that just makes you drop your head and go, dude, that could cost us. That could really cost us. Right. It would make it a 1 possession game. That's true. But considering the circumstances, would you like him to hit a 59-yard field goal at the end of the half? Yeah, of course. You'd like him to hit an 84-yard field goal if he could. You'd like them all. But you have a better understanding of like, all right, man, that was a tough situation to be put in. So I sent that over to Nix. We'll see. Professor O, hit him up. Let him know. All right. But continuing on, let's do some stars up. All right. Because we can break this thing down, and a lot of it will be negative because you lost. I mean, when you lose games, you got to tell why you lost the game, and that comes off as negative. But we're going to do some stars up and talk about some of the players that we thought performed well. So, Camber, why don't you get us started off?
Offense, Zeke. That, especially coming out in that second half, that was a fire, that was a pop, that was a power that we haven't seen. I mean, he has it at times, but it was continual and you could see it. And he made a huge difference in that run game with those power runs that he had.
Yeah, and you know what? You took mine, Zeke.
Sorry.
I was going to go. No, it's fine. But and I think it was Massey who tweeted it out last night, basically saying, this is the value of having both guys,
right?
It's Zeke and Pollard, because Pollard really couldn't get going last night. He had a pop or two here and there, but in large part, Zeke, I mean, 6.2 yards per carry, had the touchdown that was outside of 10 yards, which has been pretty rare for him at this point in his career. But he showed some nice wiggle. He showed excellent strength, which is what he's always been about, is finishing runs and turning 0 or -1 or 1 into 2, 3, or 4 type of yardage on a play. So yeah, I really like Zeke too. And if I have to go another direction, then it's going to be Ferguson. It's
that was my next one. If you took Zeke, I was going Ferguson.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Jake Ferguson, and I was 1 week off.
Right?
Because going into the Rams game, I said this is the one where one of those rookie tight ends is going to get their touchdown. That didn't happen, but they got it here against Philadelphia, and hey, on a slick move too.
Oh yeah,
Jake
that
Ferguson,
that footwork,
which is not something that we were like clamoring on it, like his game film coming out of college. No one was like, "Oh, Jake Ferguson got them shakes." No, like no one was talking about that.
Right?
We're talking about the high point ability. We're talking about the blocking ability and the red zone threat and the seam threat and those types of things. And then he goes out there and gives them the old Reggie Bush. And that was, I mean, you could argue that was the play of the night. And, we're really, really looking forward to what a guy like Jake can bake. Yeah,
I love it.
I love it too. And that's what that move was, man. It was a Jake and Bake. Absolutely.
It absolutely was.
So defensive side of the ball now. Let's take a look at the defensive side of the ball. Who's your star up?
So I don't agree with PFF in their grading of this. They can just go away. And TC, you're going to love it. But my man, LVE, was all over near that ball last night, making big plays. He was solid the entire game. And while I could pick out a lot of other players, this was a great game for him. And so I'm Vanderbabing it out and saying LVE for me.
That's fine. Yeah, and I even tweeted during the game that this looks more like a 2019 LVE rather than the guy we've seen the last 2 years. But I gotta agree. I thought he had a really good game. I'm not sure. I mean, you just they're grading. You never,
right?
Have any idea kind of what their reasoning is behind it. But at the end of the day, LVE is a good one. I'm gonna go with Osa Odigizua.
That was my backup one.
Yeah. So I mean, again, if we're talking about the Eagles didn't come in and just run all over you, they reached a respectable total yards mark on the ground, but that was just by volume. I mean, like you said, 3.2 yards per carry. And Osa Odigizua, I thought, really came up big in this ball game because he didn't allow Miles Sanders to kill you. He didn't allow Jalen Hurts to just run wild. And which, by the way, also got to show some props to Donovan Wilson. The one time that I saw the offensive line for Philly kind of create that pocket, but everything's covered and there's space to run. The one time where I was like, oh man, here he goes. There he goes. Oh no. Donovan Mitchell came on down and just made a play, So I thought that both of those guys had a fantastic game. And Osa Odigizua, he's taking a step from where he was a year ago, even though this is about the time last year where he kind of started to taper off his rookie year. But in year 2 so far, he's looking better. He's looking better than he was even at this point last year.
And I have to give an extra star to Turpin. And, we had Dalton Miller on last week, and that was one of his predictions is, looking at how their special teams was and that this is the game. And he almost broke that one out and was going to be gone. I do notice that, like, on that very first return, and I think he might have done it on the second or third, it looks like his feet get going so fast that's what trips him up. It's like he can't keep up with his feet going. But shout out to him because he had some great returns.
Yeah, and if not for the slip, it looked like he had a little bit. I think they would have got an angle on him, but it would have been a quality return, and that's really all he's given you this year. I think I can think of one other time this season where Turpin might have tried to do too much, tried to reverse field and went backwards a little bit,
Right.
but that was a month ago now. And other than that, he's done nothing but give you 15-yard returns, and in the punt game, that's huge. And
Right.
even more. I mean, he's taking you deep into enemy territory with his punt returns. And so I was really happy with that. Gregory, I think you're making a good point talking
Yep.
about anger. Early in the ball game, Dallas had to punt from around their 25, and he flipped it all the way to the other field. And I think Philly ended up having to start around their 28 or so. And that's a big deal. I mean, we're talking about special teams matter. Hey, Knicks, get in here and flex, brother. Special teams matter. You know what I mean? So I was really happy with that part, which that's been, I mean, as great as the defense has been, special teams may not have as significant of an impact as offense or defense, but you could make an argument that the Dallas Cowboys special teams is the best phase out of the three on the whole squad, between how good Maher has been, Anger, and also Turpin as a return man. And then their coverage, they've had a penalty or two here and there, but their coverage has
Kelvin
been
Joseph.
Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't that long ago we were bragging on him, like, obviously you want more out of a second round pick, but at least
Right.
he's playing well on special teams, and he continues to do so. He had a mistake that hurt you, and penalties were a part of what killed Dallas last night. Dante Fowler, which,
Right.
not
CeeDee Lamb.
CD,
That was
and
Sedarian.
nearly had a third block in the back as well. They picked it
Yeah,
up.
that one on Gallup. That was
And that was close.
yeah.
Well,
It probably should have been, but we will exchange those for how many times did Micah get held, LVE get held. I mean, it's just comical at this point in time with Micah. Do they not think that we don't see these consistently?
Yeah, it is, and the way that they call it, I don't know what they're wanting, like what has to be done. And part of the issue with NFL rules is they're subjective. It's like there's gray area in just about every rule. I mean, you take a look at, we were just talking about the block in the back. They decided it wasn't. And
Right.
even as Cowboy fans, we're just kind of like, oh, sure it's not. Like,
Right.
okay, but at the end of the day, I look at kind of how this officiating goes when it's Micah Parsons rushing the passer, and you're just like, okay, but how much rope are we going to give these offensive linemen until it's just blatant putting your thumb on the scale? What's up, Mix? In the house?
Hey, Steve. Hey, Cam. How are we doing this wonderful, glorious East Texas midday, if you will? The weather is fantastic. I came back from the sauna, aka the humidity kingdom hot box of Florida last week, and I'm so happy. I've never appreciated the East Texas weather more than right now.
Man, I hear you.
I feel you. I'm heading there Friday.
Panthers
Yeah,
probably Anderson, Cardinals, FYI.
Yeah, no, I head there Friday, so we'll see. This hair will not be like this. It will be.
No. Yeah, no, it definitely won't. Did y'all catch that, though? Robbie Anderson just got traded to the Arizona Cardinals.
Who is that? Oh, Robbie Anderson?
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
All right. I mean, what?
I mean,
and D-Hop comes back, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, he's off. Yeah, he's done. They play Thursday night, right? I think, and he's eligible for Thursday night.
Oh man.
Oh.
Well, I'm not going to be watching then.
Oh,
so I don't understand. I don't get the whole, I'm going to sit here and tweet for 3 hours about how terrible this game is, but I'm not going to change the channel. I'm just going to talk about how terrible the game is.
Well, here's what I've come to agree on here. Thursday night is a time where Twitter can all come together and agree on something. And you don't miss out on that.
Everybody else, fans of the teams playing included, are like, yeah, it's kind of trash, ain't it? Like it's.
But we get free shipping. We're getting free shipping.
There it is. Cam, look at it. There's the silver lining, Cam. There's the silver.
Oh man.
Not to interrupt the flow here. I'll jump right in wherever y'all were at, guys.
Well, we were just let's see, were we still on Star Up? Just
Well,
showing a little.
Yeah, showing a little love for someone on offense, someone on defense, and then we threw in special team member on this one.
Very fair. I mean, Startup, can I do the young tight end combo? Can I throw them in there? Can I?
Yeah.
Offensively, actually, I tweeted out here a little while ago too. Look, franchise tag money be damned. Let Schultz get as healthy as possible. Let these young tight ends rumble. This offense going forward is going to be better for it. We got to see more of that glimpse, even more of a glimpse, if you will, in this game. One of the bright spots here offensively that we got to see last night. Defense. I mean, I feel like I know Cam said LVE, right? She had to. I mean, my man was diving over the pile, getting it in. I probably is where Cam's at. I'm gonna go, but Cam, did you say LVE, by the way?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
it's Vanderbabe week.
Okay, fair enough. Man, there was moments across where some guys played well. Obviously Dorn's getting after it once again a little bit. The run D bothering me some, but yeah, just Diggs once again. Only one catch for whenever he went up against what you call it, and for like what was it, 3 yards, 6 yards, or something like that. So only one catch, did his thing. I thought Diggs played very well. So I'll go start there with Diggs. We heard a lot about how maybe he was going to get honey roasted all of a sudden, right, because of who they were going against, and that didn't come to fruition.
Yeah, and I didn't think that Trayvon Diggs had a bad game at all. As a matter of fact, it's kind of typical. It feels like even when Diggs does give up a play, it tends to be early. It tends to be early, and then you don't really hear about it again. And
Right.
the one catch that you're referencing came in the first or second quarter. I know it was in the first half, and then you did not even really. The ball wasn't even around number 7 the rest of the game. And so that means that he's doing his job. They didn't want to test him. They were more interested in trying to get Micah Parsons off balance with the RPO and then the short and medium passing game. I mean, they didn't test Diggs at all, and especially didn't test him deep.
Yeah, they tested Brown more.
Yeah.
Put him in the old mix a little bit, Brown, and definitely with the Parsons. Look, and it's okay to give credit schematically, especially there in the first half, getting Parsons in on the edge there with the RPO option there where he could run or throw it. Kind of put him in the mix some, and they did a great job. And they kind of took a page on what we did. If you go back to the Chargers last year, right, and still had to play, and we were nervous about that. There was months where we just didn't block Joey Bosa, made him choose and went off of that. And they did a lot of that there in the first half with Parsons. And unfortunately, because of especially in that second quarter, just the amount of time where the defense just wasn't getting no breaks and they were back to back to back, it was hard for Dan Quinn to get to some adjustments. Obviously, we did see some of those adjustments come in the second half to change it up for them. But schematically there, particularly the second quarter, great job by the Eagles and what they dialed up to handle the Micah Parsons problem.
Yeah, I don't know if they adjusted anything in the second half or if just the second quarter ended for the Eagles.
Oh, there's that too. 24-24, now 20. Boy, in the second quarter, man. And look, they have the biggest going into this game, which is probably extended now, the biggest point differential of any quarter in the history of the NFL through 6 games. That's the Eagles' second quarter all time. That's a crazy stat.
And I don't know what it is, and it's ironic because the points are going to go to the second quarter, but they drove the length of the field like the last 5 minutes of the first quarter, and then the first play of the second quarter. That's where the points go, and it's just kind of like, is it more just like wild, weird coincidence? This is not sustainable. There's no way that this is sustainable for them. And even
it can't be a plan.
Even if it is, that's a bad thing for your team to only be productive in one quarter.
That's true. But I mean, It's worked for 6 games. That's all I know for the most part. So,
Well, you know what? Our offense worked for 6 games last year.
no, well, yeah, well, maybe 8, Cam. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
okay. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
Hey,
Strong for 6, and then
our our
so
back
the
our
wheels
backup
can fall
quarterback
off.
worked for 5 games.
right.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's you can't only score in one quarter and expect to win a bunch of ball games. I mean, you're gonna go to the playoffs. They're in the driver's seat in the NFC East right now. Man, I looked at their schedule before we came in here, and that is like I'm jealous. I'm just envious that of who they have to play this year. I think they have 3 teams remaining with a winning record, and that includes us, and I think Dallas has 5 teams with a winning record left on the schedule. And so,
But their last 5 games, they meet the Giants, then they have the Bears, then they have us, the Saints, and the Giants again. So
down the stretch,
in the stretch at the end of it, and the Giants are starting to prove that it's not the other team that's that bad, that they are putting something together there. I mean, we have to kind of start to believe this at this point a little bit.
Yeah.
it's hard to believe though.
Right? That's what our brain has been trained lately, for the last how many years. But
Yeah.
it keeps happening week after. They're ahead of us in the standings. We are gonna have to start to believe that they're doing something in New York.
Yeah. Lacey says some people use backup quarterback for excuse. Others win Super Bowls with them. Yeah, I mean, historically, not a lot of backup quarterbacks win Super Bowls in general. And I don't think here, as far as Cowboys land goes and what we're talking about, and I said it last night, Dak's coming back. We're 4-2. Cooper Rush did his job. I don't think anybody, I'm not blaming last night's loss on Cooper Rush. I don't think we matched the energy coming out early. I kind of wish Kellen Moore would have had the same kind of game plan for the second half and the first half. There were some things happening there. And look, and to be honest, there's some throws that Cooper did miss in the first half, but that's going to happen with the backup quarterback. So, no, I mean, it's not an excuse here. It's just what happened for sure.
Look, raise your hand if you have a problem with the position that the Dallas Cowboys are in right now. Anybody?
If Dak had played these games and we were 4-2, I would be okay.
Right. That
Right.
part.
I mean, let's be real.
And you probably have an extra 7 points on the scoreboard in each of those games, if not more. He's just and by all means, thank you, Cooper Rush. We appreciate what he did. And I think this is what people are missing. It's not that we hate Cooper Rush. It's not that we root for his failure. We're just looking at it and going, all right, man, that's awesome that you've been able to kind of maintain what's been going on the field, but that's what it is. It's maintaining, and it's been, not turning the ball over. Well, last night that kind of, reared its ugly head after dropped interceptions, after interceptions that, were canceled out by penalty. Those types of things have happened here in the last few games, and Dallas has been the beneficiary of those, and Cooper Rush has been the beneficiary of those. And last night, we saw a little bit more of what a lot of people have been trying to explain. Like, it's not a negativity towards Cooper Rush. There's just so much he can do, and he's a very limited player. Now, by all means, I think we maximized his potential. I think that we got out of him enough to win 4 games through this stretch. But now you need your offense to go to another level, because the Eagles scored 26 points last night, and a Cooper Rush-led team has never scored 26 points any game he started. So we need that extra element in the offense that can stretch the field, that can make the second level throw. I mean, there was a time last night that Michael Gallup was clearly frustrated because Cooper Rush took the tight end underneath on the bootleg. Michael Gallup was on the second level wide open. Rush didn't see him. That's okay. I mean, you were safe about it. You didn't turn the ball over in that instance. But it's just things like that Dak will execute that Cooper Rush doesn't.
Well, and I think a lot of his throws and a lot, velocity, you can name it. The way he threw it made their secondary. They have a strong secondary. Don't
Sure.
get me wrong. Don't get twisted about anything like if I'm saying this, but it made them look better. It gave them opportunities to come in on that ball, the way it was thrown, everything like that. And I think, that doesn't happen. That won't happen as much with Dak.
Yeah, and the things that we talked about throughout the winning streak was basically, look, Cooper Rush can't turn the ball over, and if he gets down by a couple of scores, it's going to be, if this team gets down by a couple of scores, it's going to be an issue with him at quarterback. It's not a knock on Rush in that realm. It's just understanding who he is and where this team was at with him at the helm. And unfortunately, we had those two things happen: the 2 turnovers in the first half. The last one is what it is. I know he got hit. He was up. We were down by 9, but the first 2 in the first half, up and behind the 8 ball, you go down 20-0, and you kind of understood where you were. So, look, hell of a fight there in the third quarter and getting it back to 20-17, and then the one Achilles heel to this defense kind of snuck up where Philly's like, okay, we're just going to run the ball, and boy, I tell you, when they decided to run the ball there and they just had to have it, the Cowboys couldn't come up with a stop. And I tweeted this during the game. The 3rd and 4 on that drive where we showed the double-A gap blitz there, and they ended up bailing, which allowed Hurts to pick it up with his feet. I'm pretty sure Dan Quinn didn't sleep well last night after that call, and that was the one that stuck out to me, and I pinned it, and I said, hey, remember this play, and that was kind of the play on that drive that broke the back a little bit. But again, to get all the way back, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I thought they played well against the run until it came to fourth, and of course they went 1 for 1 on 4th down, but 3rd and 4th down, 7 out of 15, and of those 7 that they converted, I know that more than half were runs. Now, some of them are that short, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 we saw where they just rugby scrum and you got a big, thick quarterback who can, keep the legs churning and that sort of thing. And I get that. But like you said, the 4-yard run that kind of, remember this play, it's going to be a big deal. That play almost felt as big as like Dante Fowler jumping offside.
Right.
They kind of have similar impact in that way. And so even though in the grand scheme, the whole of it, they played well against the run, they didn't get off the field when they needed to.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So, it's just one of those things. You're in an NFC East game. You had to scrap back a lot of energy at times against, you used to scrap back the way that they did. You look at the third quarter, I think the Cowboys had like 110 yards versus their 8. And just needed that one extra stop there to give this team opportunity to try to tie it or go take the lead. And just couldn't come up with it. They came up short. So, once again, it's just not much of a Cooper Rush situation here. It's just, the dichotomy of the game, what happened. And eventually, look, you're not going to win them all. Sure, we would love to win them, but Camber with a great point. Even with Dak fully healthy, if you're 4-2 at this point, and look how this thing has played out, you feel pretty good about the rest of the way the schedule lines up for the Cowboys. We knew the first 6 games, there was 4 really tough games. You're coming out of it even with the backup 2-2 in those games: Bengals, Bucks, Rams, and now Eagles. And you're set up for the rest of the way. So time to get back to work and get to the grind and look at this tape and make the adjustments and move forward.
Yeah. And again, having the opportunity to play them at the end of the year, you're not in a bad position by all means. With Cooper Rush having played, Dak coming back, what you kind of have to do now is avoid any kind of letdown. You got to avoid that game against the Lions and the Bears and, not kind of have that hangover that would, you're bummed, you got beat, prime time, NFC East opponent. Like you said, it's time to pick your head back up and get right back into things and ensure that you handle business against teams that you are better than. This is an issue that we've had in the past where you would go up the next week and you really feel like we can take care of business against this opponent, but you're coming off an emotional week and that emotion kind of lingered a little bit too long and you didn't perform too well. We saw it against the Jets in 2019, which I think was our most probably like headache of a game that we've had in recent history. But man, when it comes to stopping the run, struggled on 3rd and 4th down, and then you're going to go up against another very good rushing offense in the Lions.
Correct. Swift definitely.
Swift is out.
No, Swift's healthy. A guy inbox me said
He is.
he'll play this week. That's what. Well, obviously we'll see through the week of that.
Yeah, because I'm.
All right. But yeah, I mean, you got to handle up on that. We know what their offense is bringing Detroit, and then they're coming off of a bye. Obviously they got shut out by New England. They had the bye week, so they've had a 2-week stretch here to prepare for the Cowboys. And again, it's going to start with that run and how they like to run the ball. And getting after that, the great news here with the Dak coming back is, boy, their defense has not been good. It has not been good. So Dak is coming back with a quote-unquote softer landing spot. But I'll ask y'all, in my opinion, I think the biggest thing that they found during the Cooper Rush era here early in the season is you have an identity offensively. And if you stay with the construct of what they've done offensively with a Dak Prescott there over Cooper Rush, now you're elevating what this can do. So for y'all, let me ask, do you think they're going to stick to the same game plan they've had thus far, or are they going to get a little happy with the pass?
Look, I've been saying this team was built to run the ball since the summer. All right. People, and with a healthy Dak Prescott, even when we had a healthy Tyron Smith at the time, I was all about this identity. Will they do it? I don't trust Kellen to do that. No. I mean, with Dak Prescott, he loves him, and rightfully so. We all love him. But I really think that they put a lot of it on him. And when you've seen that this works, when you've seen that, hey, this is an effective way to go with your offense, I don't know why you would go any other direction. I don't know why you wouldn't, go the 2014, 2016 type of route. You have the horses to play that way. And your defense is more equipped now to play that way than they were in 2014 and 2016. So if you adopt that same mentality and that same approach with Dak Prescott at quarterback, man, you will reel off wins. You will lock in a playoff spot before that final week 18. But will they do it, Nix? That's what you're asking? I can't confidently say that they would.
Cam?
I think I would hope that they do. And not only because we've seen that it is working for us right now, but also don't put all that pressure on Dak. Don't put all that extra on his thumb right now. Let him work into it. If it seems to be the way to go for whatever team we're facing and we need to be pass heavy, by all means. But don't come out of the gates just slinging the ball. Number one, for his health of his thumb. Don't have to push that. And it's not necessary every damn game. It's really not.
I like that. Not necessary every damn game. Well played there, Cam. Well played.
Thank you.
But yeah, I just, back to Mike McCarthy, I've been big on this after week one, the things that he said during that week of the media of, I don't like the option routes. We haven't seen them anymore. Talking about on your play call sheet, a certain player, you have about 10 plays. And for the most part, we've seen them get Pollard outside of the Washington game. We've seen them design things for Pollard. I really thought we'd see maybe some Turpin offense this game. It didn't happen. I'm still waiting to see that come through the other side because he has that home run ability. But yeah, I just think, the Cowboys, the one thing we always question over the years, what's the identity over the past couple of years? And I think now with the Rush having to play with, Mike McCarthy saying, hey, we need to do things a little bit differently. We've seen that it works. And like I said, I just go back to that standpoint of with Dak at the helm with this offense running that way, boy, I really think they can really do a lot of damage offensively than where they have been. So it's going to be very intriguing. Kellen Moore's kind of the wild card there. I will say this, and I said it on the space after the game, the post-game space. For me, as I've talked about Kellen Moore, and, the one thing for me over the past couple of years is this team is kind of built to win now in instances. But, Kellen is young and he's learning on the job, but we need him to catch up. Once again, phenomenal halftime adjustments from Kellen Moore in this last game, going from what was in the first half not working to going to up tempo, getting the tight ends more involved. Would a lot to see them attack the field a little bit more. I think some of that, and that kind of goes back to what you said, Stevie J, on that second level there where Gallup is coming across the middle. Cooper Rush just wasn't willing to throw it that round. He was more onto the edges, where we think where Dak with the arm strength will be more willing to do some of those things. So I think they have identity. I think it's something they can sink their teeth into with this defense and how special teams is playing. And you're going to be elevated on offense with Dak. And hopefully that's going to be the temperament that they stick to. Sure, there might be a game where you have to get to that passing game more because things don't go the right way or wherever the case may be. But even down 20-0 in the second half, you still saw them run the ball and help them get back into it. And hopefully that's something that sticks out to them that, yes, you were down 20-0. Oh, well, 20-3. They got the 3 points there at the end of the first half, excuse me. But you still stuck to the run. It got to that play action, got to the tight ends out here on the edge, and was able to put a couple of drives together there in the third quarter to really give yourself an opportunity in the fourth. It didn't come up all roses, obviously, but this is something that you have to feel inside that building. They should feel with Dak coming back. This becomes even more potent, and we can really make hay the rest of the way of this season with this kind of offense.
Yeah, what I agree with there, Nix, is absolutely that Dak adds another element, of course, that the offense needs to stick to the run. How many teams are willing 3 scores down going into the second half to stay with the run game? Like that doesn't exist. I mean, they'll run the ball periodically, but it's more like, I mean, we can't just throw it 40 times here in the second half. You know, we have a good front in front of us. We have a favorable box in front of us. Let's run it here. You know, but that's kind of the approach to the run game when you're down by that much. And Dallas did not do that. They have the identity and they need to stick with the identity. All right. When Dak comes back, don't put on the fake mustache and the glasses and just walk around like, who am I? No, keep to the identity. Stay with what has been working for you. So I totally agree with that. And watch what Dak does. When you take some of that off his shoulders, watch what he does, man. I mean, there's only so much a guy can handle. And they've been using that running game the last couple of years just as, like I was saying, like, okay, well, I mean, you know, here it is, Zeke, AB gap, one or the other, whichever. All right, 2 yards, cool, let's throw it. Like, I mean, that's kind of been the attitude, or it feels like that at least, that there isn't really any kind of oomph to it. You know, there's really no attitude behind the run game. It feels like we've been doing it just because, well, it's football. You're supposed to periodically. And we got Zeke and we're paying him a lot of money and we should just run the footballs, you know, from time to time. Right now, this team should run it 30 times a game.
Well, now we know why. Do you see? Professor O just put up.
Yeah.
Now we know why he's going there.
Yeah, and hence
There you go.
I was kind of thinking about that even right before you put it on there because we didn't know where the Hollywood injury is. So tons of sense there for them to go get Robbie with Hollywood being out the rest of the year. So bada bing, bada boom. Yeah, I mean, Cowboys maybe should call up, you know, the Panthers who they want to trade DJ Moore, but neither here nor there. I won't get down that path. Go ahead, Cam.
There's a tight end that I would let go and we could bring him in. We don't need right now. I'm probably going to get blocked for saying it. But yeah, I'll take more. I'll take more right now. Huh?
You ain't blocked yet?
No.
Me either.
No, I am.
Either.
Yeah.
I got blocked at the beginning of 2021.
Well, did he do it on the field? Because I don't see that happening ever.
I don't know, but well, okay. So, but getting back to the conversation, Nix, the one thing that I got to disagree with you on though, Nix, is Kellen Moore, you know, learning on the job, and he's been here as long as Dak has, you know, and he started out the quarterback his first year, and he has been the offensive coordinator since 2019. All right, this is year 4. We're done learning. It's time for us to be good at our job. All right, if by year 4, if you're still learning on the job, then you shouldn't have been given it 4 years ago in the first place. If you're still learning now, they should have given you a different educational route to get here. All right. And that's not Kellen Moore's fault. All right. They offer him the job. He takes it. I mean, that's all that he did wrong was accepting a job. But if we're still learning on the job in 2022, when we took over 4 or 5 years ago, then, you know, then maybe this is who he is.
Well, true. Even just a couple of weeks ago, right? And he had the presser, and they were asking him about that, and he came out and said, "Yeah, I know. I want to throw it all the time. I'm learning to run the ball more." And throughout his process, and maybe so that's Cooper Rush, maybe so that's Mike McCarthy, whatever the case is, you've seen him be more what you call it on the run game. With the play design, not the A to B gap runs with Zeke, as you were talking about a little bit earlier. And again, for me, the one thing I said, if we go back to last year, as Cam talked about the 6 games, look, we all knew, like if the Cowboys came out and the offense was clicking, it was going to be a long day for the other team. Boy, after the first quarter, it looked a little meh. We're like, oh boy, here we go. And just for me, I just thought it was to see the amount of adjustments that he did to get the team back into it, albeit even with Cooper Rush and what was going on after the first half. I just thought it was a growing moment for him. I definitely understand. You should be there, but I think sometimes as coaches, and especially the younger ones, it's not like players. You're not going to be the same coach year 1, 2 that you are year 4. So I do think there is a growing process within that, but at a certain point, you got to get there. I get it. We look at the Sean McVays of the world. We look at the young man up there with Minnesota and what they're doing offensively, and sometimes it comes a little bit quicker. But just like certain players, so you get a Micah Parsons year 1. Oh my God, look at him now. He's developing year 2. Now you look at Diggs year 1 versus Diggs year 3, and look at the growth and what's happened there. So I just think the teachability and the learning ability across the landscape of sports, whether you're a coach or a player, is indifferent. And for me, I just think like what he got into in the second half, I don't want to say surprised me, but I was like, okay, he understands, like, okay, whatever we were trying to get going is not working. Let me try this. And I'm like, oh, you're developing a counterpunch finally. And that's been my biggest thing this entire offseason from last year to this year with Kellen was he needs to find the counterpunch whenever his first punch doesn't land. And I felt like last night's the first time I've seen that from him of I'm scrapping what I was doing. I'm going to this. Let's try this. And it worked.
I also like to point out that year 1 and 2 for Kellen Moore were under Jason Garrett. And Jason Garrett is one of the most boring offensive call playing people.
And Scott Linehan.
And being with Linehan. So how much development can we really expect in that? And then we also need to understand that Mike McCarthy last year on our offense was hands off. Didn't even know what offense we were running. Didn't know everything that was going on with it. And now that he stepped in, I think that's where we're seeing this progression of Kellen Moore, and that we're seeing an identity with our offense starting to develop in us doing different things, is that maybe the right things and puzzle pieces had to be in the right places. And now we're seeing the evolving of Kellen Moore as an offensive coordinator.
Well, at least until Dad gets back, and then all bets are off.
Stop it! Stop it, Nate!
That's exactly where I was about to go. Is it's easy to establish that identity when you're working with your backup quarterback who is limited in his physical abilities. Now, he's a smart guy. Cooper Rush makes largely good decisions. Just like you look at the throw down the field to CeeDee Lamb near the end of the game, it was the right decision. It was wide open. Just the arm, you just didn't have what it took to get it on out there. So is Kellen Moore going to continue with the same type of growth in terms of having the identity of a run game when Dak comes back? Because you got to remember, he himself was a quarterback. And I think that it is pretty apparent that when you look at quarterbacks who become offensive coordinators, they love to be quarterbacks. I mean, they love to throw the ball when they've got a guy who can throw the ball, and that's rightfully so. But right now, I think that you are more equipped to run, even with Michael Gallup back. I don't know. Michael Gallup didn't look like he was really coming out of those breaks all that great, and coming back to the ball, it looked like they were able to jump in front of him a little bit. And of course, some of that's on Rush. He might be a little bit late with the delivery, something, I don't know, but it didn't look like to me Michael Gallup was really sticking and working his way back to the football, which is off topic from the Kellen Moore situation, just kind of what came to mind. But otherwise, man, I will make that judgment call for me when Dak gets back, and if we're still, running the football efficiently, which I think you'll be even more efficient when Dak comes back if you'll commit to it.
Well, as they say, we'll have to take our time and a little bit of due diligence and see what happens the next time we line up with Dak under center. But I think that's the hope of a lot of Cowboys Nation. I know I definitely is here over here at Pick Six Sports that stick with the identity and let Dak elevate what that game plan is, because he is going to elevate it with the talent and the legs that he has, and we feel like that's the recipe for the rest of this year for us to really, like I said, make some noise and get into these playoffs. And look at 4-2, right, third in the division, 2-1 in the division currently. The biggest thing on the outset I want to say before I get out here and go back to work for everybody in Cowboys land is simply this: we all knew going into this season, no matter what, it's get to the playoffs. It's great. What are you going to do once you get to the playoffs? And I think realistically, finding that identity right now and them sticking to that, if you want to see be a player in the playoffs, not just show up and get bounced out of there, starts in these games moving forward with that coming back and establishing this, keeping this identity established and growing within it to the playoff times. Because I think this defense, we can pretty much put it to bed. This defense is one of the best defenses the Cowboys have had since '07. And this offense is complementary that way with a quarterback that can make the plays that, Cooper Rush couldn't make. So get well versed in that, keep pounding and chopping the wood, if you will. And ultimately, what we want to see, and we talked about it leading up to the season, is what do you do in the playoffs is what's going to matter. And I feel like if they're able to flourish underneath this offense with that coming back, that's the recipe here for them to get you a win or two here in the playoffs and do something.
I'm with you, man. And to me, the regular season is great. It's a lot of fun because it's the NFL, because it's the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to celebrate every win. I'll watch every loss.
Facts.
But for what you're saying is precise. It's from here until the rest of eternity. The regular season is just entertainment. To be honest, the real goal, for the Dallas Cowboys specifically, there's been teams who have had success in more recent history. We haven't. So I'm only going to partially, with a grain of salt, enjoy a Dallas Cowboys regular season, because I know at the end of the day, when we get to the playoffs, that divisional round is going to be sitting right there as just looking like a mountain that you got to climb. And I don't know why that is. I don't know, the reason necessarily year in and year out. I understand the one common denominator, Jerry Jones. I get that. But I mean, I would at least like to get to that NFC title game, and I think this team can do it, though I think they've taken the approach that would pretty much have us repeating the same type of season we had last year. Nice little 12-5, something of the sort, and then you get to the divisional round, and what are you going to do there? That's all that matters. What are you going to do there?
Yeah, and more, and even with the extra sauce on top of that, year three of not Dan Quinn, year three of Mike McCarthy, and we don't know the future of Dan Quinn moving forward and how he's built this thing. All that kind of matters in a different realm here when we talk about not just in the Cowboys and us getting to a championship game. It's been 26 years and all that good stuff that we talk about, but there's an extra added weight there because we know there's a guy kind of sitting out there who consistently makes sure to let it be known he's ready to come back to coaching, and we know how the Jerry Jones effect, as you said, CBJ, is going to matter to them more so in-house what happens here into these playoffs. So, with that being said, guys, I'll let y'all finish up here. I get back here. Somebody's calling me. I got to go do some more trading or something. I don't know. Appreciate everybody rocking with us as always. Y'all be safe. And 4-2. Don't worry. As I just saw my guy Massey in the building. What's going on, Matt? Says Eagles fan told him they ended our season last night. Far from it, Cowboys Nation. Far from our season being ended. Y'all be safe, guys.
Bye, Nick.
All right, Nix.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a very
it's very bold. That's super bold to say at this point in time, because as
Bold
we
is
know,
fine.
as we know, one play can change your entire season. 2020 for us. Change the entire season. They, Hertz goes down. They, they claim in Super Bowl already that they're ending our season in the 6th week. Life can change
Or
in a snap.
someone goes out and comes up with a game plan that exposes everything that you're about.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that's literally what. Look, Dallas was 6-1 last year.
Right.
Went up, played the Denver Broncos, and everybody was like, "Oh, rush 2, drop everybody else, cover 2, shell. All right, cool, let's do that." And
Right.
it was only against teams mostly within your division that you were just flat out better than, who went away from that formula. But largely, everyone else has been like, you know what, well, let's play this way. So the Eagles, look, they're off to a great start to the season. They'll make the playoffs.
They're a solid team.
Yeah, just don't let us be right there with you whenever Christmas time comes around. Because I'm just saying, if we're tied, if we got the same record and it's for the division essentially, then you can talk about your win in October, but at the end of the day, how much is this win really going to matter for you if we're right there with you in December and you come up empty then? So there's still a lot of football left to play this season. That's for both teams. And speaking of a lot of football left to play this season, we got the Lions coming up. And so, Camber, let's get to those predictions. Let's talk about the Lions just here briefly.
Right. There is nothing that scares me about this defense, and I am going to say that with confidence.
Sure.
Oh, bless their hearts. Nope. This defense, I got Aiden Hutchinson. They got Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
I just can't be worried about it. On the other side of the ball, yeah, they do have Penny Sewell, and
they have a good offensive line.
They do. They've got a good offensive line. Hawkinson's a decent tight end. But pardon me.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Right. Yeah, that wide receiver. DJ Shark is out as far as we know. As of right now, DeAndre Swift is out. I haven't heard if he is returning for sure. He definitely is something that we would have to watch and focus on for the run game. Yeah, he's a great running back. But yeah, I can't really say that. Are we making our prediction right now?
Yeah, fire away.
Okay. If Dak is back for sure. And I'm going to say this with more confidence than I did with my gut feeling. It's 40 burger week, kids.
40 burger?
Look what the Seahawks hung on them. Come on.
Yeah, but that's with the great Geno Smith.
You did not go there and do that, did you?
The immortal.
Right.
The great one. No.
Right.
But, all right. So you're going for it. Give me do you got a score?
Yeah, 42-17.
42-17. I like that. I don't know if I'm going 40 because I do want them to stay with the old identity, stay on the ground. All right. So that shortens the game. But I'm going to go 31-18. 31-18.
Well, see, I'm not seeing all offensive scores. I see some defensive scores in here.
Okay.
I'd have to check them on special teams. Is this one that Turpin brings one back?
Look, for Turpin at this point in time, it seems pretty unanimous that we're just waiting. Like it's only a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. And so, yeah, I mean, someone every week is going to be like, this is the day, this is the game. Turpin's popping one. And
Right.
someone's going to be right. I mean, eventually someone's going to be right. It's kind of like me with the, rookie tight ends scoring a touchdown. Like eventually it's going to happen. It was just a matter of, well, how many times can you say it until you get to claim that you were right? So Turpin could very well pop this one. I would love if they gave him some opportunity in the kickoff return game, which is always up to the kicking team. But I would love to see Turpin return a touchdown. Obviously, that would put the game a lot closer to your score if they do come up with a special teams or defensive touchdown.
Right. So, what was your score again?
31-18. 31-18.
Gotcha. All right.
31-18.
My bold prediction, looking at this defense, Zeke's getting 100 yards.
Zeke's getting 100 yards?
Yeah.
Okay. My bold prediction is CeeDee Lamb goes for 150.
Nice.
CeeDee Lamb's going for 150 if Dak is back.
Right. Yes.
Asterisk.
Well, mine isn't mine doesn't hang on if he's back or not.
Right. As a matter of fact, if Dak is back and Zeke goes for 100, it'll be like, exactly. See, that's what we're telling you.
Right.
That's what we're saying. The presence of Dak Prescott will just continue to create opportunities for this run game. So there you go. Either way, guys, this should be a game you win handily. There's no world where we come back this time next week if Jared Goff chopped you up. I don't know what I'll do with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how
I will feel way worse about that loss than I do about this one we're dealing with right now.
Infinitely. But I'm also at the point where it's like, I don't think that this could even be a thing. Like, we're too good physically up front. We're not perfect on the offensive line by any stretch of the imagination, but we're physical. We play that brand of football, and I'm cool with that. And defensively on the defensive front, we're definitely that team, definitely play physically. So I think that they could definitely there you go, overshadowed in that game. That was a great point.
Right.
Appreciate that very much. So it's about to be 10,100.
Exactly.
Right? Yep. Okay, guys, that's going to wrap it up today. Appreciate you. Be sure to like and subscribe, Pick Six Sports on YouTube. Also, be sure to hit those follows on Twitter. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you next week with more due diligence. Stevie J, Camber, we'll see you guys in the Twitter space in the world. Bye.
See you guys.